They urge divine maids to make merry tunes. Long whales squeal. Huge crabs dance. Scorpionids play flutes. Iguanas roll drums. Rare, lustrous pearls light up the food and drink. Nature's patterns are carved on kingfisher screens. Shrimp-whiskered curtains hang o'er corridors. 8 instruments play in divine harmony. Their glorious tones resound throughout the sky. Green-headed perch cocottes stroke the zithers. And red-eyed young boys blow the flutes of jade. Perch matrons present the venison stripes. Gold phoenix hairpins crown the dragon girls. What they have to eat. The 8 treasure dainties of heaven's kitchen. What have they to drink? The rich mellow brew from the purple mansion. Sitting above in the middle honored seat was the bull demon king, while several female dragon spirits sat on his immediate left and right. Facing him was an old dragon spirit, attended by scores of dragon sons, dragon grandsons, dragon grandmothers, and dragon daughters on both sides. They were toasting one another and drinking with Abaddon when the great sage sun walked right in. The old dragon caught sight of him, and he at once gave the order. "Seize that wild crab." The various dragon sons and grandsons surged forward and took hold of the great sage, who assumed human speech, crying, "Spare me! Spare me!" The old dragon said, "Where did you come from, wild crab? How dare you barge into our hall and hobble around without permission? Confess quickly, and we'll spare your life, dear great sage." With specious words of a lyric to the tune of "Moon over West River," he made this confession. "Since birth the lake's my livelihood. I dwell in a cave by the ridge. Of late time's passage has my body freed. My rank, private sidewise carriage, treading on grass and trailing mud. I've ne'er learned to walk properly. Untaught in law, I your kingly might offend. I beg your grace to pardon me." When those spirits attending the banquet heard what he said, they all rose to bow to the old dragon and to say, "This is the first time that Private Crab has entered the royal palace, and he's unfamiliar with the proper etiquette. We beg our lord to pardon him." The old dragon expressed his consent, and one of the spirits gave this command, "Release him. We'll stay the sentence of flogging. Let him go outside and wait on us." The great sage dutifully gave his obedient reply before fleeing outside. Once he reached the towered gateway, he thought to himself, "This bull king is so fond of his cup. How could I wait for him to leave here? And even when he leaves, he won't lend me the fan. Why don't I steal his golden-eyed beast, change into his appearance, and go deceive that Rak Asi? I can then wangle her fan and help my master cross the mountain. That's a much better move, dear great sage." Changing back into his original form all at once, he untied the reins of the golden-eyed beast and mounted the carved saddle. He rode it out of the lagoon's bottom and went up to the surface of the water. He then changed himself into the form of the bull king. Whipping the beast and mounting the clouds, he reached the entrance of the palm leaf cave on the Jade Cloud Mountain in no time. "Open the door," he cried, and 2 maids inside immediately opened the door when they heard his call. When they saw, moreover, that it was the bull king, they rushed inside to report, "Madam, our sire has come home." On hearing this, Rak Asi quickly straightened her hairdo and walked out of her room to receive him. Our great sage thus dismounted to lead in the golden-eyed beast. In boldness, he would deceive the fair lady. As Rak Asi had only eyes of flesh, she could not recognize him. They entered the cave hand in hand, and she told the maids to present tea. When the whole family saw that the master had returned, each member treated him with great respect. In not time at all, the couple were exchanging greetings. "Madam," said the specious bull king, "it's been a long time. I wish the great king 10,000 blessings," replied Rak Asi, and then Shah said, "The great king is so partial toward his newlywed that he has forsaken this humble maid. Which gust of wind today has blown you back here? Smiling at her, our great sage said, I dare not forsake you. Since I was invited to join Princess Jade Countenance, however, I was plagued by all kinds of domestic concerns, as well as by the affairs of my friends. That's why I have stayed away for so long, as I had to take care of another household. Anyway, I heard recently that the fellow Wukong, in the company of the Tang monk, is about to arrive at the Mountain of Flames. I fear that he may want to ask you for the fan. I hate him, and we have yet to avenge our son's wrongs. When he comes, send someone to report to me at once, so that I can seize him and have him chopped to pieces. Only that can bring us satisfaction. On hearing this, Rak Asi fell to weeping and said, Great king, the proverb says, a man without wife, his wealth has no boss. A woman with no husband herself has no boss. My life was nearly taken by this monkey. When he heard that, the great sage pretended to be outraged. When did this wretched ape pass through here? He cried. He hasn't yet, replied Rak Asi. But he came here yesterday to borrow our fan. Because he brought harm to our son, I put on my armor and went outside to hack at him with my swords. Enduring the pain, he addressed me even as sister-in-law, saying that he was once your bond brother. There were indeed 7 of us, said the great sage, who entered into a fraternal alliance some 500 years ago. He didn't dare answer me at first, said Rak Asi. Even when I scolded him, nor did he dare raise his hands when I hacked him with the swords. Afterwards, I fanned him once and sent him away. But he found some sort of wind-arresting magic somewhere and came to our door again this morning to make noises. I used the fan on him once more, but this time I couldn't budge him at all. When I attacked him then with the swords, he wasn't so kind anymore. I was intimidated by the weight of his rod and ran inside the cave, tightly shutting the door. I didn't know where or how he got through, but he managed to crawl into my stomach and almost took my life. I had to address him several times as brother-in-law and give him the fan. Again feigning dismay, the great sage pounded his chest and said, What a pity! What a pity! You have made a mistake, madam. How could you give our treasure to that monkey? I'm so upset I could die. Laughing, Rak Asi said, Please don't get mad, great king, I gave him a fake fan, just to get him away. Where did you put the real one? Asked the great sage. Relax. Relax, replied Rak Asi. It's in my possession. After she ordered the maids to prepare wine to welcome him, she took up the cup herself and presented it, saying, Great king, you may have your newfound joy, but don't ever forget your proper wedded wife. Please have a cup of home brew. The great sage did not dare refuse it. He had no choice, in fact, but to raise the cup and say to her, full of smiles, Madam, please drink first. Because I had to look after external property, I was away from you for a long time. You have been good enough to watch over our home day and night. Please accept my thanks. Rak Asi took the cup and filled it some more before handing it to the great king, again, saying, As the ancients put it, a wife is one who manages, but the husband is like a father who provides support. What is there to thank me for? Thus the two of them conversed with great courtesy before they sat down to drink and eat in earnest. Not daring to break his vegetarian diet, the great sage took only a few fruits to keep the conversation going. After drinking a few rounds, Rak Asi felt somewhat tipsy and her passion was gradually aroused. She began to move closer to the great sage son, rubbing against him and leaning on him, holding hands with him. She murmured affection. Shoulder to shoulder. She whispered endearment. She took a mouthful of wine, and then he took also a mouthful of wine from the same cup. They also traded fruits with their mouths. The great sage, of course, was feigning tenderness in all this, although he had no choice but to laugh and dally with her. Truly, the muse's hook, the sorrow's broom. To banish all cares, nothing's better than wine. The man resolves to act with less restraint. The girl has slackened and begins to laugh. Her face reddens like a ripe peach. Her body sways like young willow. They mumble and murmur, thus the prattle grows. They pinch and they fondle with flirtatious glee. Often she strokes her hair and wields her dainty hands. Her tiny feet she'd wiggle frequently and shake her sleeves a few times purposely. She'd lower her creamy neck. She'd twist her slender waist. Amorous words would never leave her lips. Gold buttons loosened, her bosom's half revealed. Her reason truly totters, for she's drunk. Rubbing her glazed eyes, she's almost disgraced. When the great sage saw that she was acting with such abandon, he took care to bait her with the words, "Madam, where have you put the real fan? You must be careful constantly, for I fear that Pilgrim's son, with his many ways of transformation, will sneak in somehow and wangle it." Giggling, Rak-Asi spat out a tiny fan no bigger than an almond leaf. Handing it over to the great sage, she said, "Isn't this the treasure?" When he held it in his hand, the great sage could not believe what he saw, and he thought to himself, "This little thing. How could it extinguish the flames? Could this be another false one?" When Rak-Asi saw him staring at the treasure in complete silence, she could not refrain from putting her powdered face up to Pilgrim's and calling out, "Dearest, put away the treasure and drink. What are you thinking of, anyway?" Immediately the great sage took this opportunity to follow up with the question, "A tiny thing like this, how could it extinguish 800 miles of flames?"